There's something about Squid Game I keep thinking about. The contestants are pretty boneheaded, right? They might not know at the outset that there can only be one winner or a handful of winners, but surely they know that they're risking their lives for money after the first game, after watching their fellow contestants be turned into modern art. Have you ever fantasized about being hit by a car so you could collect that sweet insurance money? Okay, not so extreme, but perhaps a little nudge, a gentle, graceful tap resulting in a sprained wrist or something like that. You know, just enough to leave you functional but get a huge payout? I have. It was a morbid exercise when, in one of my valuations classes, the professor started talking about how to determine the appropriate compensation in the case of personal injury. You see, when an injury results in a person not being able to work, you have to come up with a number. You do this by taking into account the loss of future earnings. And into this calculation goes a person's occupation, level of educational attainment, life expectancy, and even potential promotions. This calculation comes up with a number, the present value of future cash flows. We value a person like we would a business or a stock, by what monetary value he or she can generate over time. I don't mean to dismiss this process. It is important to make someone who, through no fault of their own and in a freak accident, finds themselves injured. But the mechanical way we go about calculating a person's value is a bit unsettling. Everyone is worth something, but because we're using math, what someone is worth, that final number, can turn out to be 0 or even less than 0. Which raises a cheerful philosophical question: what happens when you're worth less than 0? So Squid Game is kind of like lottery, right? A lot of people participate, but only one person wins. In a regular lottery, you buy a ticket and hope you bought the right one. But because of the way the math works, the value of the ticket is always lower than the expected value of the prize. If you buy a $10 ticket and your odds of winning is 1 in 10 million, and the prize is say 20 million, you lose $8 on average every time you play, if you played this lottery an infinite number of times. There's a bunch of calculators online that can help you calculate this, and there's one here that shows you how much you'd lose playing Canada's Lotto 649. In Squid Game, people don't pay to play. Well, at least they don't pay money to play. They do have skin in the game though, literally. They bet their own lives. The prize money is $45.6 million. I'm using dollars to keep things simple, let's ignore the actual exchange rate. And there are 456 players, so right off the bat the average implicit value of each player is $100,000. I say implicit because each person cannot leave with $100,000, but rather, just as the lottery transfers wealth from many losers to a few winners, so do the games essentially transfer this value from the dead to the living. So if half the people die, only half of the 45.6 million will be up for grabs. Just like the protagonist from Death of a Salesman, the player's value is only realized in their death. The more that die, the richer the survivors get. And yes, Season 1 rules are different in that if the players choose to stop, it is the families and the next of kin of the dead players who get the money, but this in no way undermines my point. We also see some of the guards harvesting the organs of the dead as a side gig, cutting through their human piñatas to get to that valuable candy inside. And by candy, of course, I mean internal organ. In Dune, when a member of the desert-dwelling Fremen dies, all the water is extracted from their body. That is what the Fremen value, that is their currency, their most precious resource. And the value of a person in death is the total amount of water that can be drawn from it. It is respectful, resourceful, and kinda gross. This water is then returned to the community, just as the value of the dead in Squid Game is distributed among the survivors. There are many articles that talk about the death rate of each game, but for the sake of simplicity, let's call it 50%. So every game, your chance of making it out alive is the same as a coin toss. So when watching this show, I was thinking, these guys are a bunch of dimwits, right? After the first game, they should know that the games have a high death rate, so why do they keep playing? And more importantly, you'd expect the number of people who want to keep playing to shrink from one round to the next as the prize money increases. But this doesn't happen. The first reason is selection bias. The ones who choose to play are not exactly people with stable careers who take vacations and sleep on memory foam mattresses. These guys are not doing well in life. Out in the world, they are worth less than a Costco hot dog. They are one bounced check away from selling their kidney on eBay. In the game, they have a chance. And this tracks as we can observe that poor people tend to play the lottery more than the rich. When you are worth nothing, you are not risking anything. When you know you'll never save enough, you might as well spend your last few bucks on a long shot. This old guy, player 100, is 10 million in debt. If he emerges from the game with anything less than a quarter of the winnings, he is going to be in trouble. By his calculation, he either perishes in the game or comes out a winner. Get rich or die trying. The other problem is the problem of temporarily embarrassed millionaires. The poor do not see themselves as the result of a system that exploits them, but rather as soon-to-be millionaires. That is to say, they overestimate their abilities and underestimate the forces that are acting against them. They are perpetually on the cusp of success. All it takes is one shitcoin or NFT investment to blow up.
I'm gonna become a crypto millionaire and travel the world with my boys.
It's easy. 3 10x trades. 1K to 10K, 10K to 100, to a million. Boom.
You're just saying higher numbers.
While the players are unaware that they're being watched for the entertainment of some rich douches, many would actually aspire to be one of these rich guys. This is also why poor people vote against their own interests. A lot are temporarily embarrassed millionaires. During the voting phase, each person knows that they have a high chance of dying next game, but each believe that it will not be them. They do not calculate probabilities properly. Similarly, a lot of poor people support regressive taxation or deregulation, which benefit the wealthy because they believe that they will one day join their ranks. We see the Latin quote, "Hodie mihi cras tibi," written on the walls in Season 3, which can be translated to, "Today it's me, tomorrow it'll be you." This obviously refers to death awaiting the survivors. But on a more meta level, it can easily refer to the phenomenon of the poor thinking that their turn to become millionaires is right around the corner. Just one more game, just one more spin, just one more lottery ticket. And it only takes a few people to make it, for everyone to point to them and say, look at what's possible. But we must not confuse what is possible with what's probable. After each game, the fearful, the tired, and the wounded only need to see the giant ball of money to be mesmerized like moths to a flame, to forget what they had just been through and hope that they will be left standing after the next round. Of course, there is another camp, those who vote to leave. Those who do not see human beings as stores of value waiting to be exploited, but rather as individuals that deserve life and dignity and who are worthy of being protected and saved. To them, the old, the infirm, and the young all have value. They reject the macabre math that says that money is the ultimate measure of a man. Self-worth is not equal to net worth. Some will say that it is survival of the fittest, but what is fitness in this case? Yes, it's physical strength, but it is also as much about the ability to influence, manipulate, and to deceive and betray. Do we want to create a world where those traits rise to the top, where Machiavellian and psychopathic tendencies are common among our leaders? I think of this sometimes. In the real world, how is success measured? Is it by money? Is it by status, how many kids you have, how famous you are, the size of your yacht? Or is it how close you can get to becoming the person you want to be? So Squid Game's narrative is one of a constant tug of war about how to value a person. Is that worth quantifiable or something less certain but no less valuable? Does that CGI baby have no value because it's a liability and can produce nothing? Or does it have the most value because it has no debts and the most potential? Speaking of the baby, it is ultimately ironic that the person who gets all the money doesn't understand the very concept of it. The real horror of Squid Game is falling short after having measured yourself with the wrong set of scales. Hey guys, thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe and share. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.